3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. Ignacy and Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 198, and we're recording it on June 10th, 2021. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And do you know, Ignacy, that Tom Vassell loves Las Vegas? But you know what? He doesn't love Las Vegas for the same reasons that I love Las Vegas. So I'm in Las Vegas right now, and those who are watching us on YouTube can see me in my cool sunglasses, which I'll have to take off so I can read the screen. But enjoying myself here. Great time hanging out with my brother and some old friends, enjoying a little gambling, a little drinking, a little eating. All bad things that you do in Las Vegas, having a great time. And I'll tell you more things that I did game-wise in just a little while. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing, but I'm also devastated because every time I connect with you, you look amazing, you look awesome, you look happy, and I'm working, and you're just flourishing, being on the retirement, and each week you look even better. What the hell?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, the compliments are so amazing. I did shave. People could see me. I literally shaved yesterday. I shaved off the beard that I had, which I called my retirement beard. And even though I'm still retired, I needed a new look. It's a new look for the next year. So
Vegas look.
That's right. My new Vegas, baby. Vegas. It's a great time here. So tell me, Ignacy, what is happening over at Portal Games? I know a lot of stuff is.
Yeah, at Portal Games, people are working, and the news of the week that happened just like 2 hours ago, we finally revealed the details about Dune House Secrets, my new game set in the Dune universe. Finally, we showed the cover. Finally, we showed the components. There's a landing page. You can go to dune.portalgames.pl and learn everything. We announced the date for the pre-orders, July 12th. So basically, finally, after these months of teasing and telling that I'm designing, and then telling that we are proofreading, and then telling that we are sending to the manufacturer, now you can see the cover, now you can see the components, learn about the game, and finally, now in July, when the pre-orders start, we will reveal game designer journals, we will talk about mechanism of the game, etc., etc. So, relieved. Happy, checking my Twitter account, checking all the retweets, checking all the likes, all the comments from the fans. So for us, today is the day we were waiting, the whole team waiting for the long time, working on the game, and now showing it to the public for the first time. So great day for me.
It looks fantastic. I just went there, dune.portalgames.pl. It looks fantastic. Congratulations. I know it's been a long time coming, and especially with all the crazy legal stuff that's going on, that you had a problem. Not of course directly with Portal Games, but the legal battles with the big players in this whole thing, HBO Max and the theaters and all that. So
ton of things that I will discuss in my 20 years from now.
Excellent stuff. What else?
So check out the dune.portalgames.pl to learn more about this game. Brag of the week, mandatory section of the blog, of the vlog, of the podcast. The Vienna Connection, as for now, rated 8.9 on Board Game Geek, super high rating. Nice. I always say to all fans, all players, if you like any game, whatever it is, a GMT game or Fantasy Flight games or Portal games, the super kind way to say thank you to the designers is just to log into Board Game Geek and rate a game. It's just a few clicks away from making a very nice gesture that helps the designers, helps publishers. So I wanted to thank all the people who played Vienna Connection and made their opinion vocal by rating the game, and these rates are making me and my team very, very happy. So thank you for that. And for all of you who haven't checked Vienna Connection yet, it is amazing. It was a ton of work, but now you can be a spy, Cold War, playing against KGB agents, fun stuff. Pre-orders and street days, June 11th, that is tomorrow as we are recording, that is few days ago as you are listening to. We are starting the draft page for 11, this is our Football Manager board game. So fun stuff for all of you who played Football Manager on PC. Now you can play it with your friends at the table. on one hand, the same experience, transferring players, creating tactics, doing all this stuff that Football Manager is doing. But on top of that, chit-chatting, trash talk, making fun of your friends, making fun of them losing the matches. So this social aspect will add so much more value to the whole experience of running your gaming club. So this is happening where it already happened as you are listening. It will happen tomorrow as we are recording. And I promised, because I'm crazy, I promised in the campaign that I will blog about the Euro Cup that is happening in Europe for all 4 weeks of the Euro Cup every single day. So I will comment on every single match that happened. I will comment my opinions about if the match was interesting, what was happening, what is my predictions about the next matches, and of course as well discuss the makings of the 11. So if you want to read 4 weeks of my commentary about the football, super exciting, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Oh,
You can check out you can check out our social media to find all the links to my blog. It's a ton of work, I guess, but I love football, I love writing, so it's gonna be fun. And the thing that Steven knows after recording with me for so many years, if there's a Euro Cup, if there's a football event, that means that I'm taking off from the company because I will be only focused on the football right now. So this is as every other year, every 2 years, I'm taking few weeks off.
wow.
I'm physically in the office, but everybody in the office who work with me knows that I have no focus whatsoever on board games, no focus whatsoever on some stupid logistics and everything else. I'm just discussing what happened in the evening in the match. So yes, my team knows me well. They are prepared. They know what will happen. Yes, I'm on sort of vacation. That means staying in the office, but thinking only about football. And my video of the week that I'm going to record on Monday, it will be about The Witcher, 5 things that you need to know about The Witcher. So if you are interested in the board game, in the video game, in the Netflix series, I'm discussing The Witcher IP. So a few very interesting tidbits about this IP from the big fan of the books. So please check out Portal Games Movies to learn more about The Witcher. Things happening, very busy, but I guess everybody is waiting for the so much more exciting report from Vegas. So floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so first of all, here in Vegas, I had to make special arrangements, of course, to record with Ignacy because, now we're like 9 hours apart, right? Pacific Coast time all the way to Central European time. He couldn't record tomorrow.
So you had to make special arrangements, not me recording this on almost 8 p.m. my time. And you are making special arrangements, not me. My wife is walking at me.
Don't start with me because you couldn't record tomorrow. There was a problem. You couldn't record. This is your fault. This is all your fault. And I'm tired because I'm still like jet lagged. So all kinds of stuff has happened to my body here.
Anyway, from Florida to Vegas, really?
Oh my, I'm dead. Jet lag. It's crazy. Anyway, what am I going to tell everybody here? So the first thing is, I'm going to go with the fact that we're going to be stopping the happy hour that I've been doing over the entire time with COVID. So it's going to be kind of one of the last times I'm going to talk about it. Give it a shot. Come over, go to the Podfather of Gaming Facebook page, go to the events and go get the link. We do it every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern and also every Sunday night at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's good for the Europeans. Come over, hang out with us a little bit, get a little bit of good positivity. It's one of the last times you're going to hear it because we're going to be ending in early July, most likely. Now, also this week, what did I do? I went to lunch with your man, Luke Otanovsky, and his lovely wife, Zara. We had such a wonderful time. Paula and I went over. We met them in downtown Delray Beach, Florida, before I flew over here. And we planned the Gen Con event for Portal Games. I should get paid for doing this work for you. I want you to know that. So I want a budget. I want an alcohol and drink budget, for this entire time that I'm going to be there. Anyway, we're going to have a great time.
I don't know how much budget we have, but I must admit that your events when you were a bicycle guy or when you were
singing?
Elvis Yeah.
Elton John. Elton John, of course.
You are making one of the best events. I must confirm that.
So what we're going to do is we're not going to talk about it yet because Luke's going to put some stuff in motion, but that's going to happen, and I'm going to be part of that for Portal Games. It looks like it's Thursday night, 7 p.m. at Gen Con. Can't wait. Also, I've consulted. I mentioned this already, and one more shout out. I consulted on the game Pisces, a game of fishery conservation. It really looks excellent. I helped them with some game design decisions and the production. And this is Dante Loretta and his brother Matthew Loretta, a space scientist and a fishing scientist. These guys are just, they're doctors. They're amazing people. They've designed this great game. It's on Kickstarter right now. Check it out. It's called Pisces. Best game ever about fishery conservation. So they like when I say it like that so that they can cut out that soundbite. Best game ever about fishery conservation. So go check that out, Pisces on Kickstarter. In Vegas right now, I went to Meepleville, which is an amazing game store here in Las Vegas, very close. Have you been there?
No, but I saw your pictures.
Oh, you saw the pictures? I'm going to put up a video of it because it was such a cool experience to be there. It is owned and run by a good friend of mine, Tim Metvetier, and he was there. We hung out. Crystal Dax was also there from the Dice Tower, and we had lunch. We had a drink. He showed us the store. We played a game. So if you're ever in Las Vegas and you want to go to a premier, gorgeous board game store with amazing space, it's a board game cafe. He serves beer and food and stuff like that. It's an experience. He's selling an experience there for gamers. Check out Meepleville in Las Vegas. Great time. Watch the video that I post in a little while on that one. Upcoming trips again. I've got the little house convention that we're doing out in Napa Valley, CoreyCon, we're calling it. Corey Thompson, wonderful guy. He's invited a few friends out there. We're going to be doing that in early July. And then the Podfather Wine and Food Tour of Napa Valley coming in July also. So we can't wait to get out there as well. I can't even tell you what happens because the other stuff that's happening in Las Vegas, because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's all secret. So I won about $300 last night playing craps. That was epically good. I'll tell you right now. So that's my big win story. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of losses that I won't tell you about after this. And finally, the remodeling status in the home. We're still homeless. I'm here. Poor Paula is at my brother's house in Florida. As we get to a point where we want to move back into the house. The flooring is down. The feature wall is tiled. Baseboard molding's going in. They're going to do some painting now this week. But we're still easily 5 weeks from the project being done. But we will move back in about a week or so. Once I get back, we'll check it out. Won't have a kitchen yet, but we'll move back in. Watch for the photos. It's pretty interesting to see the transformation of the house from what it was to being destroyed and now to be rebuilt. Pretty cool. All right, Ignacy, let's get over to the event deck. So everybody, we are still running our contest, our episode 200 contest. This is 198, coming up on 200. Pretty amazing. Been doing this for like 6 years, Ignacy. Is that right? Has it been 6 years?
I have no clue, but I feel like it is a part of my life right now. Like this is really years. This is amazing.
Yeah, it is. And we have a great time doing it, as you can probably tell. And we're going to continue doing this for the future. So if you want to be part of the contest to win 2 games from Portal Games, well, you win 1 game, 2 different people will win a game from Portal Games. You can get 1 entry into the contest by putting a good question into our Ask Us a Question thread on our guild on Board Game Geek. You can get a 2nd entry if you record a video or audio clip and post it on either Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag Board Games Insider. There's been some funny videos been posted, been great. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent ones. So really good stuff. And I appreciate those people doing that. Very, very nice. All right, Ignacy, to the news. What do we have? First thing here.
The big one. Yeah, the big
Marvel takes to the tabletop with Marvel Multiverse RPG. I think you actually put this one in there, didn't you?
Yep.
So, Marvel Entertainment has announced the official Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. The preliminary playtest rulebook will release next spring, with the full game launching in 2023. So it's a ways off. Written by New York Times best-selling Matt Forbeck. Wow. Big cred. Marvel Multiverse will enable players to don the costume of their favorite Marvel heroes or create their own heroes and experience comic-style adventures. The game is based on the all-new D616 game system. I don't know this, which is designed to help players start playing quickly, including novice role players. So, Ignacy, you obviously put this here because you're a role player. This is interesting, certainly to me as well as a role player. Do you think you're going to be trying to play in the Marvel universe? It's pretty interesting.
I will not play because I'm not that into Marvel. I'm more a DC guy, but I can easily see my kids playing it because they love Marvel.
Sure.
And as we always discuss in this podcast, that there's a D&D, there's a Pathfinder, and all other role-playing games are less popular. Like these two games are so strong. I can see that the Marvel role-playing game can easily be in this top 3, and I'm super eager to see how fans will transition from playing Pathfinder or from playing D&D to playing Marvel, because Marvel is so big, and in my opinion, it will just get bigger and bigger every year with Disney Plus platform, with all these new TV shows, with all these new amazing movies. Is going to be just stronger and stronger. So very interesting news, not for me personally, but for the business standpoint. We can see different numbers in the future when we will discuss the best-selling role-playing games of the year.
Let's see what happens. Absolutely. So another one that you thought was interesting for our listeners, Fantasy Flight Games announces 2 Edge of the Earth expansions for Arkham Horror, the card game, and also Mythos packs will be discontinued. Fantasy Flight announced Edge of the Earth campaign expansion and investigator expansion for Arkham Horror, the card game, which will release later in 2021. Edge of the Earth campaign expansion sends players to Antarctica to explore the horrors that await in the ice sheets. This expansion comes with over 300 scenario cards for the Edge of Earth campaign. And then there's also the Edge of Earth Investigator expansion, comes with player cards that expand deck building options for the campaign. The box comes with 5 investigators and around 250 cards to strengthen the game's card pool. It will retail for $39.95. Ignacy, are you a big fan of Arkham Horror, the card game, or you just think this is a very interesting development for the game?
Yes, I'm a big fan, but besides being a fan of the game, we all remember, especially Steven, because he was big with that, CCGs, 90s playing CCGs, and then early 2000s, FFG introduces LCG, living card game format that is providing new cards, but not in the boosters, not in a random way. And believe it or not, years passed. LCGs were developing. There was many of these games, and here we have the news that is not officially saying, but it could be easily rephrased: LCG is over. Like this news tells that Arkham Horror LCG is no longer sold in the format that we know for 15 years or so. So it's very interesting for me as a fan of the game. It's a good change. Instead of hunting these new expansions, going to the game store every other months and trying to catch them all, and sometimes some of them are sold out, it is always pain of the ass. So for me, it was much better solution just by all these cards. But for business standpoint, this is so huge change for all retailers. They had to restock all these new packs every other month, the whole cycles. Now they will just order one box and sell to the customer once. So very interesting change. As I said, the LCG was with us for a dozen of years, or several, dozen is a drop, for several years, and now it changes.
So as I read this, I'm not understanding how they're saying that it is changed. I don't see him saying that here, but I understand.
Exactly. So yes, these news could be rewritten in a completely different words, saying the same, but in a different words. What they are saying is that before, when they were selling expansion for the game, there was packs every other month, new cycle. Now they are saying we will sell everything in one box. So
yeah. I mean, but it's
it's a
funny
huge
how
change.
they don't. It's not called out exactly like that. I guess you know it because you're a fan and you know exactly how it was working going along. Very interesting way of changing the model, the LCG
Yeah.
model. So let's see how that works out because it's been very successful, obviously, for them.
And
So
I also read very interesting comment on the forums because I'm of course active
mhm.
there on Arkham Horror. That some of the fans were discussing, thinking how much impact on this decision was involved with the problem with the transport from China. All this mess in the ports, all this mess with the containers. We report on this for like almost a year now. And for FFG from Asmodee, bringing all these packs every other month, new packs, new transport, new container, and there's always, change of the prices, etc., etc. Maybe somebody at Asmodee said, okay, stop this, like release this one expansion instead of releasing 12 expansions for the cycle, and do it in a one shipment, one container, one thing. So I don't know, very interesting change, even though it is not called change, but we have reporting skills, so we figured out.
Very, very interesting. So here's a story about something that's very interesting. They they stopped the funding campaign for Prison Architect. It was trying to be funded. A board game funding was canceled. Let me read this because this is crazy. Prison Architect is primarily known as a video game through its recent Kickstarter, though a recent Kickstarter sought funding for a tabletop version by designers David Tercy and Nurali Lubbers, published through PSC. However, after a slow uptake in funding and disappointment voiced on both racial and distasteful elements of the theme, a statement has been uploaded to Board Game Geek and the funding itself was canceled. In summary, it explains how the game was made as a result of enjoying the video game, but acknowledges that there were additional reasons that should have been considered that were against making the game entirely. Although it acknowledges certain areas of concern were given thought within the design, potential exploitation of sexual assault and death row were removed. Attempts were made to remove slavery aspects associated. It goes on to explain it was a mess up to continue with the theme regardless, and it didn't take into account that the game would cause discomfort and remain exclusionary. It comments that the designers were well-meaning, but, quote, ignorant, privileged, and overexcited in its creation as a fun little game, and learned from the comments that have come since. I've never heard of the game, the video
So
game.
let me assure you, this is a very popular PC game.
And the
The
game,
video game, the
and
video game. I mean,
I don't even, it's even hard for me to say the word. And the game contains sexual assault and slavery aspects. It contains that, the video game.
I haven't played it, but I see it in many rankings, and one of the most popular indie video game. It is one of the most popular indie video games. You can see it in every single ranking.
Wow.
From my point of view, the very interesting angle here. We don't have an answers, by the way, dear listeners. We are sorry. We are just speculating. How's the contract going on? Like the publisher PSC had a contract for releasing a board game adaptation of this video game. They signed a contract. Now they decided to not do the game. What will happen with the contract? What will happen with royalties that should be paid, right? So even though we can clearly see that the video gamers probably are less sensitive than board gamers on some topics, and in the video game industry, some harsh ideas as less controversial. But even without discussing these things, for me, very interesting. What will happen in the contract? Because contract was signed, yes, the game was supposed to be released, and now it's cancelled. Very, very interesting change of the events.
Yeah. Very interesting change of events. Very controversial things covered in this, and it's something I guess that I'm not going to understand how a video game or a board game can handle any of those topics. It just doesn't work in my mind. Well, that's all the news for this week. We're going to move on to our strategy and tactics segment. Daniel Leonard, who's at Night Fan Dan, he says, "Hi, Ignacy Steven. How do you and your companies decide on the order size of the first print run for a new game? Do you poll distributors and retailers? Do you have a forecast model? Do you estimate based on similar games? How do you would you change anything after seeing the recent Wingspan demand and supply situation?" Of course, this is a question that came a year or so or plus ago. And Dan, the short answer is we read tea leaves, occasionally look at the moon. No, Ignacy, this is the single hardest thing to do, right? We've addressed this in the past. The single hardest thing in the industry is to predict what the demand is going to be and what your initial print run size will be.
Yeah, Ignacy has these two ongoing topics in this podcast. One is complaining on Gamma, and the other one is complaining that for years distribution channels and the whole B2B part of the industry haven't managed to have some sort of analytics, business analysis of the market, of the demand, to provide some tools for the publishers and distributors alike to have some good estimation. And on top of that, you guys, our listeners, are crazy. So easy to get to the hype train and suddenly game that nobody predicts that may be a success suddenly is a rocket. And the Wingspan is a perfect example, because with my whole respect to Stonemaier Games, that puts away amazing games for years. Still, I can feel for the distributors that if they had this speech from Jamie saying that he's doing a game about the birds, they were laughing him out. Like this team is so unique and so awkward that I can easily see the distributors who sell Arkham Horror on Star Wars or some other geeky stuff, when they heard from the Jamie that he's doing a game about the birds, they say, no, we are not interested. And then suddenly you guys, you listeners, decided that you'd love to play a game about the birds. And then there would be a whole mess with the demand and supply. But the short answer, in the industry, there is no tools for analytics. And I find it as one of the biggest problems of this industry.
I find it to be the single biggest problem. I call it indicative data. There's no indicative data to tell us what the demand is going to be. And there's no good way of doing it. Though I predict, and I should add this to my predictions at the end of the year, I do predict that we're going to see some additional marketing research that's going to end up helping companies do this kind of work. How do I predict that? Because I got a friend of mine who might be doing this. He might start a business. He's a big market research guy. He's retiring, like me. He's retired from his big job that he has, and he wants to, hang out in this industry now. He was not in this industry, and he's going to bring his powers to bear, and with, for his love of games. So we'll see if that happens.
Perfect.
But it's a really big problem. Good question. Michael J., who's at Jack0395. How do you guys weigh the advantage or disadvantage of a controversial theme? Oh, isn't this a very good question to have on this episode? Often we are looking for something unique or different. What helps you decide if a theme is too taboo or not? All right, Michael J. Prison. I can't even say the words again. It's that. Something like that cannot be done. You can't have a game about sexual abuse and slavery. I don't even know how it was handled in the game. You could have it if it's a historical thing and they're treating it, in a very good way. There are a couple of games that have come out. It worked. I think they were fine, but I don't know. It's your gut. I mean, there are certain topics that you just can't do, and they wouldn't be good to do, and they wouldn't be fun doing. And I'm going to call out a company. I won't call them out, because a company, a very big company, did a game that actually had some really horrific topics in the game, and they got raked over the coals for it. And the game did come out, Ignacy, any more
Yeah, I think that
comments there?
if there is any publisher who thinks about the business in a serious way, like this is not like one man show who does some Kickstarter, but if you're a legit company that has employees, has distribution, and has their place in the industry, you should not do crazy topics. Like this is not good for the business, and yeah, it may be good for some indie projects. That's something that is interesting for you and maybe controversial for some people, but you don't find it controversial and you want to try, do it. But if you are thinking about running a regular legit business, be careful. And on top of that, things that I experience in different countries, in different cultures, there is different sensitivity, right? So if you are thinking about worldwide distribution, if you are looking for if you want to find the partners in France, in Germany, in Poland, you need to be even more careful with these topics, because something that may be okay in France may be very not okay in America or in Spain. So very difficult topic, and yes, be careful. Don't hurt anybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Melissa Murphy. Hey, Melissa. She was one of the Knights of the Stronghold. Her and Michael, great people.
Yep.
Who's at Brumbombs, cute name. When producing promos for a game, are they created in the same printing of the associated game or separately? Is it difficult to maintain production specifications, color, lots, card quality? How is this maintained? For some games, I have promo cards where the size or the color is slightly off. Sure, that could definitely happen. But what I have always liked to do is yes, there are some magic numbers in production of cards. You can fit, depending on the printer, 120 cards on a sheet of paper. And this is poker size, so standard poker size cards, the larger cards, right? 120 cards. So if your game calls for like 110 cards, you print the extra 10 that are your promo cards, or 3 or whatever number. You print those, and the printer will separate them out for you. I'm going to charge you a little extra for that, the work of separating and putting them to the side, maybe packaging them separately, but you don't get charged for the paper, of course. Same paper. And of course, you'll get the same quality all around. Ignacy, I assume you've experienced almost exactly the same thing again and again.
Yeah, and it's great that you said it, and we can even say it once again, because people may not understand it. There's one sheet of paper, and you have some spare place. You can put some additional promos, but manufacturer will charge you for that because there's additional work they have to separate these cards from the whole print run. This is a ton of logistics for them, because if there's a big manufacturer, they have all this automatization, right, in a place. So suddenly, if you ask them, hey, we need these 110 cards, but please remove 5 cards out of this, suddenly is a problem for them, additional work. So it's not that easy. But in terms of the color and quality, that should be the same.
So exactly. So this is my most interesting story about printing promo cards. When I was going to print promo cards for Core Worlds, and this was a run. Yes, this was a run of just promo cards. So this was something that was only promo cards that we were going to be doing. So this is a little bit different, but it has an interesting story to it. What I ended up doing was I ended up putting as a spacer, because there was going to be different, like there's going to be this set of promos and this set of promos. They're going to come out in different ways. I ended up putting my business card, which I'm showing now on YouTube. If you want to see that, my business card, which has my information on one side, some more game advertisements on the other side, and this is printed just like a playing card. This is 300 GSM linen finished. You can hear the snap. Gray black core card from Ludofact. The highest quality. This is the greatest business card ever made because it's an actual playing card. I can shuffle my business cards. Well, my old ones from Stronghold. I happen to have a few of them on my wallet. But that's my and I went, those are the separators for the different types. And then I literally went through and I had separated them because they didn't do it for me because they printed them in big packs. But anyway, that's a good story. Thank you, Melissa, for that question. I think we need to get on to play testing.
That's a perfect timing, sir, because I just finished typing my question. And my question is today dedicated to the fact that we just released Vienna Connection, my new game. I know my numbers. I know how many copies I sold. These numbers are very cool, and I'm very happy with them. And yet, I see many people not playing the game yet because they just bought it, and now they wait for a good moment to play. And of course, me as a publisher and me as a designer, it pisses me off because I want you to play immediately. I want to give me your feedback. I want you to praise the game and tell me how amazing I am. And I don't want my game to be stuck on your shelf of shame. So my question for you today is, as Steven is typing in right now.
There you go. And then we'll add in the other part of your question. So go ahead. You can read it.
How many games do you have on your shelf of shame, which of course is your games that have still not been played in your collection, and what motivates you to finally play? And Ignacy is saying, hey, play this damn Vienna Connection right now. I need it.
So for me,
out of these many galaxies, how these games are still waiting for your time?
First of all, I don't even know how many games I have in my collection. So we can start with that. I always say it's 2000, and I literally don't know. However, I'm probably going to come up with that number because, you know, I've been talking about the remodeling. So all the games got boxed and all the games are out of the house. When they come back and they get reshelved, I think I'm going to put them back on Board Game Geek in my collection. Nice. I think I'm going to do that. That's a lot. Because I have, it's going to be weeks, and I think I'm going to do it. So I'll know. And maybe I'll count the number on the shelves of shame, but my number is very, very high because I buy games just because we as former publisher, we get so many things for free too, right? And games that we produce that we've already played because we played a prototype and we played the games but all of a sudden then we get a game to put on our shelf. And even lots of stronghold games, they're just not opened. And indie boards and cards games, they're just not opened. I'm gonna do it as a percentage basis. So I'm gonna say nice. I would say about 20% of my games are still in shrink wrap, right? I guess that would be, or I'll say, still in shrink wrap. And then there's even more of them that are not in shrink wrap that haven't been played. So you can do the math.
You opened the box, you saw the rule book and said, oh my God, no. And you put it away.
Ignacy wrote this rule book. I'm not going to play this game. No. So it's a lot. It's too hard for me to answer. Do you have an answer?
It varies during the year. Right after Essen, there's like 50 of games, and then I go down and down and down. At this point, is about 20. And that I have to play, so it's not that terrible. But yes, I know when I see on the forums, on the Facebook groups, people just showing these, these whole rooms of the games, and I get just this new Kickstarter, and there's like a pile of other Kickstarters not yet opened. So, guys, thank you for buying our games. We appreciate that.
We do.
That was Ignacy Publisher. But Ignacy Designer says, hey guys, play my game.
Please play it and go rate the game because we want ratings, we want people talking about them. So now Ignacy, as I speak, is creating a thread on Board Game Geek in our guild. Right, Ignacy? I see you doing it.
Yep.
Okay. And we're asking you this question. How many games do you have on your shelf of shame? Of course, that's the games that are in your collection that have not been played. And then what motivates you to finally make that play? Please go to the guild on Board Game Geek, find the play testing thread for this question, and post your answer to it. And while Ignacy does that, I'll get over to the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. To answer our question to you from our play testing segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which are /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgamesus.com and podfathergaming.com. Please go there, sign up for the newsletters to get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, you can speak directly to Stephen and Ignacy, and that would be at Portal Games US and at Podfather Gaming. Same on Instagram. And on YouTube, the very active channels are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming. Please subscribe to those channels. We hope to see you at an upcoming convention because we're going back to cons, my friends. Board Games Insider is professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. Awesome dude. And if you'd like him to edit your podcast, please reach out to him either on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, we're at the end. Do you have anything special?
I have a very special invitation. Please go to dune.portalgames.pl.
And I'm going to tell you a secret that's over here. A secret that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I'm going to tell everybody a secret. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Here it is. It's beep.
You're the best editor ever.
Bye, everybody.